Hello, I'd like to introduce some friends of mine. This is Norman, and down there's Sarah, and this is little Bert. And I can recognize them because I know their faces and their bodies, of course. But over here are some creatures that I think you'll be able to recognize because they are very, very famous. Here, perhaps one of the most famous actors in the world. And here's another equally famous, and I'll give you a hint, female. Here's another possibly more famous even than the first two. And finally, a particularly fine actor or actress, characteristic little dark mark there just above the right hip. Now, did you miss any? Well, if you did, here are the answers. Faces help, don't they?
Wherever we go, we're assaulted by famous faces. Cinema, television, magazines, papers, hoardings. You just can't escape the gaze of the famous. And what drives this mad merry-go-round is the simple, desperate craving to be famous.
Performers, actors, people who become actors want the fame. A star is someone whom from the moment they wake up in the morning till they go to bed at night, they are obsessed with only one thought. How can I be a bigger star tomorrow than I am today? That's what consumes them.
I don't think it improves human beings much. Because it's gratuitous. The kind of fame that we're talking about. I mean, it's by chance, it's flukish. You've done very little to deserve it normally. Certainly television fame is like that. I mean, if you're Winston Churchill, well, you've done a bit, you know. But by and large, famous people are not Winston Churchill.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Figures. We've been expecting you. Do sit down, please. Now, I understand that you wish to become an icon.
Is it difficult?
Well, that depends. Would you say that your life has been marked by an unusual amount of suffering?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Drugs, drink, sexual addiction, that sort of thing?
Lots.
Excellent. And would you say that you feel very vulnerable most of the time? And would you be prepared to talk about that at inordinate length?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Excellent.
Is that it?
Well, there is one other thing. You have to die young, and preferably in tragic circumstances.
Is that a definite requirement?
I'm afraid it is, yes.
All right, then.
Oh, I forgot to ask. Have you actually done... Oh, never mind. Give me the Daily Mail, will you?
Some people are just dying to be famous. A young actor called Ryan Martin is one of them.
With no love, you're gonna make my soul run dry.
I think it'd be a wonderful thing to be famous. To see people, you know, happy with your work and happy to see your face when you're walking down the street and say, hello, how are you today? I said, great, I'm doing good. I say, I remember you, man. You're the one from, you know, the picture on the screen. So that's me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The music was an offshoot. I kind of got a little bit disgusted with acting for about 2 or 3 years. A couple weeks ago when I came out here, I mean, no one even looked at me, you know. It's very humbling, very humbling. I'll do whatever it takes. I mean, I don't care. I want to be famous, you know. That's what it's all about.
If Ryan wants his face plastered all over Sunset Boulevard, he'll have to impress someone like Marley Finn. She's one of the world's leading casting directors. She persuaded James Cameron to cast Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic, and Curtis Hanson to give Russell Crowe his big break in LA Confidential.
I think that anybody can be famous, and I don't think you have to have the face of a Leonardo DiCaprio or of a Mark Damon to be famous. I think you simply have to have a face that is distinctive. And I probably would
Not surprisingly, she knows exactly what kind of face she likes.
Probably not him. See, some of these guys don't have a distinct enough look. It's okay. See, this is something that just doesn't do anything for me at all. Again, some of these look like they are, they're so typically contemporary.
Rick Edwards is an ex-Chippendale. He's come out to Hollywood for one thing.
I would like to walk down the street and have people say, hey, look at that, that's Rick Edwards. Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I would assume or imagine that that little boost on the ego when you first get started and you first start getting recognized it must be great. 3 years ago, I joined Chippendales, and I was on the U.S. national tour. That was a great time. A different city every day, traveling around in a tour bus, different state every week, being on stage, bright lights, screaming women. It's just a job.
He's now working as the Scotch whiskey ambassador for Los Angeles Orange County, so of course, he wears a kilt.
It's not Disneyland where we're dressing up as a character. What it is the kilt is a very formal wear. And the Scotch company I work for is a very formal company. And so it's no different than if I was wearing a tuxedo doing it. But because it's Scotland and it's Scotch whiskey, it's the Scottish tuxedo.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next Scotch that we're going to sample tonight is the Johnnie Walker Gold Label. This one specifically just flips my kilt. This is my favorite one right here. It's very smooth. You're going to detect a lot of...
When I was 17 years old, I enlisted in the Army. I spent 6 years in the Army. I was a paratrooper. My nickname all through the Army was Hollywood. That's what my drill sergeants called me. That's what everybody in my unit called me. Hollywood, that was my name. And in 1992, when I got out of the Army, I figured, do I want to go back to Iowa or Minnesota? Go to Hollywood.
So as they say in Scotland, our toast of Slanjava, which means good health and happiness to you, everybody. Slanjava. Good health and happiness to you.
Unfortunately for Rick, the Hollywood competition's tough. There's thousands of actors for every single job, all of them trying to get their face noticed. A fair number of them are filed in Marley Finn's office.
This is where everything just gets spread out all over the place. We have file drawers here. We have African-American men, women here, actors with tattoos, bikers. We have specialty men down here, foreign actors, martial artists, musicians. We have teens here, models, Asian actors, boys, girls. So this is the workspace.
How many pancakes you want, Mary? Yeah.
Michael Ricks is another young actor who wants his face to be famous.
It's cool to, go down the street and see your head on a big giant billboard with premiering a movie and everything. It does make a lasting impression, but it makes more of a lasting impression if you're really good. You sleep okay? I live with my 2 great aunts. I actually hadn't seen them since I was a child. And I kind of ended up here because one of them broke their hip. So I'm here and I take care of them, rent-free. And it keeps me grounded. Yeah. 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 I play basketball regularly. It's another form of expression for me. I play with a lot of passion. I'm not Michael Jordan, but, I don't like to lose. Yeah. Yeah. I came here because it felt like I had a void in my life. I worked at Ford Motor Company as an assemblyman for 4 years. I just didn't want to grow old doing a repetitious job.
Yeah.
Gosh, for fame, man, I'll put it all out there.
Yeah.
It's so simple it sounds dumb. But all Michael, Ryan and Rick have to have is a face that Marley Finn likes.
I don't think he's classically handsome enough. He has a long face with this jaw that sticks out here. His eyes are the most liquid of all of these.
Well, when they eventually get to meet Marley Finn, it should be pretty informative.
Film, television, magazines, faces, faces, faces. Why? Actually, the people who first realized how important faces are to us were in advertising, because they discovered early on that faces sold things, and that famous faces sold things even better. But why? What's underlying this obsession of ours with famous faces?
Well, maybe part of the answer is to be found here. Faces are virtually all that we draw when we're first given a pen or a brush. And these children aren't painting pictures of Roberts, Cruise, or DiCaprio. The most famous people around them are their mothers and fathers.
With my hairbrush? Hairbrush? They just have some paint, same colors of paint, 4 colors, and they're each doing a circle. But if you look at the circles and the noses and the eyes, each face has their own personality on them, which is like a footprint or fingerprint. It's a child's style. And it's imbued with their own emotions and their own experience of their mother looking at them. The mother's face is telling them how she feels about them. Crucial to live, to know that mother loves you. They're interested in the pop stars. They're interested in the princess. But I think they draw a person that's showing experiences that are significant in that face.
Oh, there's a face. Oh, it's me. Anyway, our obsession with famous faces isn't a new phenomenon. It began 140,000 years ago, when our modern minds were in the process of being formed.
Most of the important things that happened to human beings happened during our remote history. The history of civilized human beings is so brief that it's not had any time to affect our minds, so we still have Stone Age minds living in Silicon Age bodies.
Lots of animals lived in social groups with a social structure, including us. And if you do that, you have to know the boss guy. You have to know one another, but particularly you have to know the boss guy. And you have to have someone that you want to look up to, that you actually enjoy looking up to, because he kind of takes responsibilities. And you have to recognize him. So fame is one way in which you recognize somebody in a crowd who isn't just one of those sitting around there just like you, but he's the guy up there. And that is nice for the guys up there, but actually the rest of the people down there are also glad that there is someone up there.
So, as your tribe got larger, so large that now you couldn't know everybody in it, it became possible for the very first time for someone whose face you'd never seen before to have a major influence over your life. So, how could you know what this very important person looked like? Well, the only place you could see their face was here, on money. Another famous JC.
Good day.
Good day.
I'd like to have my head on a coin.
Well, who are you?
I'm a peasant, but an outstanding one.
All right. Well, there's three things you got to do. You got to pay me 20 groats, and then you got to fill out this form.
Oh, thank you.
Go.
What's the third thing?
Well, then you have to become king.
Have you got a pamphlet on how to become king?
Yeah, there's a box at the back.
Oh.
The other way that you could have your face in a public place so that people could see what you look like was to put up one of these. And the great advantage was that you'd be surrounded by other statues, most of them of gods, which made it clear how special you were. But you see, no dress designers, no footballers, no restaurant critics.
And let's not forget, no chat show hosts.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Julius Caesar Show. And with us tonight, the King of the Senate, Mark Antony, the King of the Colosseum, Megasaurus, and here's Julius!
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Until quite recently, if you were famous, you were powerful, seriously powerful, life and death powerful. In fact, in medieval Europe, the only thing that really mattered was your power, not what you actually looked like.
In those days, if they wanted an image of the king, they took anybody's face, and I mean anybody's, stuck a crown on it, and wrote the name of the king underneath. It seems extraordinary to us, but they didn't expect a portrait of the king to look like him. And we have to wait until 1500 for the first portrait of an English king, and this is Henry VII, who was Henry VIII's dad, that was actually painted from life and looked like him.
The left eye looks a bit odd. Was that the painter or His Majesty?
Take the greatest writer ever, William Shakespeare, here at the National Portrait Gallery. Did he actually look like this? Well, we don't know, because there's academic squabbling about whether this was painted from life or painted after he died from memory. But here's the point. It's Shakespeare, and we got one dodgy picture of him. One!
And the reason why famous faces weren't well known? Well, they just didn't have the technology.
Thank you, Alfonso. Excellent.
Thank you, sir. Excuse me, sir. The paparazzi are outside. Do you want me to?
Shall we give them a couple of minutes?
If we must.
Yes, come on, come on. Do the case. Right, that's it. That's enough for tonight. Thank you.
Oh. Here's a cake, darling. Oh, yeah, that's lovely.
Yes, yes. Lovely.
Come on, big smile, darling.
It's to the right. That's it.
If you want to be famous today, you start out with a photograph. A simple 10 by 8 picture called a headshot. It's the fuel which powers the whole fame machine.
Headshots, actors send out to casting directors. On the back of the headshot, it'll say, he went to college, he can fence, he can ride horseback, speaks 11, all these are lies. Speaks 11 languages, is a great snorkeler, blah, blah, blah. On the front is the headshot. And you're hoping someone will say, wait a minute, that's kind of it. Let me see that guy.
Headshots are important in Hollywood because looks are important in Hollywood. The look is the only thing that anyone remembers. People often forget what somebody's been in, what someone's name is, what someone's resume says, but if they see the face, they suddenly get terribly excited.
You know, if you have a Ferrari, you want to show it off to people and say, hey, look, I've got a great Ferrari here, you know, and look at the brochure. This is beautiful. And you want to say, well, I've got a good face. This is what I look like. Put me in something.
This is, again, your call, okay?
So if you want to have a famous face, somebody like Marley Finn has to like it.
Okay, because we're looking for one thing only. We're looking for warriors. And that's somebody who has very strong, frightening facial features that just jump off the page at you. A lot of handsome guys here that look a little soft. Oh, there we go. It's very easy when you look at headshots to say, okay, this person is stiff. You can see it in the face. And other faces, it's like you see the mischievous eyes, or you see the dimples, or you see some distinctive feature. But something's happening there that says, whoa, I want to get to know this person. I like what I see here.
So how long have you got to get your face noticed? On average, nearly half a second.
These are mine, so of course they're all brilliant. No. Actually, I never put it in there.
So for Michael, Ryan and Rick, that means a trip to see the king of the Hollywood headshot, Kevin Major Howard, who makes a virtue out of working at the back of his garage with no lights.
I don't pursue the lighting schedule of a studio photograph. To me, it's very portraiture.
Okay, Ryan, what I want you to do here, I want you to just do this. Sit like this, butt back, and just lean straight ahead like this.
I think because of my style that I shoot in, I have enabled the industry, the actor within the industry, to really get authenticity about whom he is or she is. To the performance level that when people look at my work, they actually feel that they're meeting that person.
How's the career going?
It's going good.
Yes?
It's going very good, yeah.
Tell me what's been going on.
Well, well, just kind of moving along, you know.
So what I try to do with available light is just that's the light that's God given us. It's what we look like every day of our lives, every minute we walk somewhere. Let's use that light.
All right. Rick, what I want you to do here, you're going to start off this way, leg like this, butt back in the chair, just hang out. Okay? Really nice look, Rick. You know who you remind me of a little bit?
Eric Roberts.
No, Ray Liotta.
I hear that.
It'd be smart for you to actually take your 8x10, send it to Ray Liotta, send it to Ray Liotta's manager and his agent. Submit it, well, Ray Liotta's
Photo double.
Well, no, you could be cast simply as his brother or a twin.
I like to recreate in the camera what I physically see in life. When you and I both meet, we look into each other's eyes. When we do such things, our ears are not in focus, our shirt is not in focus, this background is not in focus. So I really try to record that authenticity within the photograph. For instance, when you look in my eyes, you see that relationship with this not being in focus. It's the same thing I'm trying to create in this photograph. You can see her eyes, they really come off the page, but it's because of, I've shown you within the camera, that illusion of our ears are not in focus like hers are not. The clothing is not in focus, and so all you get is her representation of who she is authentically.
Okay, Michael. Kevin Major Howard, nice to meet you.
Michael Davis.
Nice to meet you. Yeah. All right, what I want you to do to set up with. Yeah. Chin down just a little.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Good, Michael. Good. Right there. Where are you from, Michael?
Detroit, Michigan.
Detroit. How long have you been out here?
3 years.
You're a baby out here.
Yes, I am.
How's the career going?
It's steady.
Photography gave birth to the modern concept of a famous face. But the people having their picture taken a century and a half ago, when the camera was first invented, had actually done something significant.
Well, the Victorian era was one of rapid change, of technological developments, not only in things like photography, but the development of the railways, the canal systems, and people looked up to the sort of makers and shapers of that era and wanted to record their impact on that world, and the best way to do it was through that idea of eminence, that portrayal of biography and the promotion of the image through the photograph. Local clerics were incredibly popular, so they were sort of local celebrities in their own right. There were writers, scientists, the sort of leading figures of the new technologies.
You're on my toe. Sorry.
The next development, which led to the democratization of fame, was the revolution in publishing.
Now, one of the things that emerged was a whole genre of celebrity publications, and they were called things like Men and Mark, Men and Women in the Day, are celebrities, living celebrities, and their titles give away, really, people's responses and attitudes to what was in those albums.
So now we've got photographs and the popular press. Well, the third invention to transform the human face is the movies, because if you try and think of all the famous faces that you can, I bet about half of them are movie stars. And here's the odd thing. When movies first started, from the point of view of the actors' faces, it wasn't that different from going to the theater.
To prove the point, here's an old piece of film from 1909 showing one of my acting ancestors, Sir Stilton Cleese, playing the Dane.
To be or not to be, that is the question.
When movies first started, they looked a bit like theatre because they were filmed in a wide shot. But that didn't last very long. Movie makers soon came up with a close-up, and fame and the face were never the same again.
The close-up, I think, changed everything, because suddenly you were looking at a different head than you'd ever seen before. You were looking at a giant head. I see your head. You're what, 6'5", 6'6"? You have the head of a man that height. That's all I ever see. I don't see a head like this. That is godlike. That brings a kind of importance. My God, he's 50 feet high. He must be able to be champion of the world. He must be better than anybody else.
And the first person to experience what that was like was Charlie Chaplin.
He was, for a period of time, the most famous man in history, because in Africa they would run his 1- and 2-reelers on sheets so the natives in Africa could see him. And so there was no place on earth where he could go where his face wasn't famous, and I don't think that had happened before. Chaplin was just something that happened, and he was beautiful in a way. That famous shot at the end of City Lights, and that face, that smile that he makes that ends and irises out of the movie. It's an amazing shot, but it only works because of his face.
And this new power only became evident when he came back to Britain for the first time in... Where Chaplin went, everyone else followed. But now it's all much quicker. There's this insatiable appetite for famous faces driven by the inexorable expansion of modern media.
The media has changed the concept of fame. There's just so much more media than there ever was before. Not just because of television and radio, but because of the internet, because of this vast proliferation of magazine publishing. And they need faces. They need to have something, an image to put on their cover and inside that's going to make you, the reader, stop and pause and look. So this desire to be famous is matched by this machinery that says we need famous faces. We need famous faces, or faces that we can make famous, because that's somehow the fuel on which all of this operates.
The magazine cover that everyone wants their face on is Vanity Fair, the ultimate barometer of how famous your mush really is.
In terms of celebrity, in terms of Hollywood, it's a very important cover to get. To get yourself on that cover, it kind of signifies that you've arrived.
It's Jude Law's turn to be officially declared famous on this cover of Vanity Fair. But how much of this great British actor do they really
They're all great
want?
covers. They are all great covers. I think we need to come in
on the beautiful face.
on the beautiful face.
There you get the
close.
eye contact, which is nice.
This one's the best one that shows the intensity of the face and the different kind of character he can do.
I love these larger scale
I think
things,
it's
whatever.
gonna
I think they
pop right off
always
an
look
instant.
so much better on newsstand.
It's whether they can sell magazines, whether there's something instantly appealing about their face that's going to get them on the magazine cover. Not that they're particularly good at what they do. I mean, how often do you see Woody Allen on the cover of a magazine, for example? How often do you see any of the really powerful directors? When's the last Martin Scorsese cover you saw on Vanity Fair? Well, you didn't see one, because why would they? That's not the nature of fame.
Michael, Ryan and Rick are still some way from the cover of Vanity Fair.
I love you.
But today, they have a once-in-a-lifetime chance to get a bit closer by meeting Marley Finn.
Do you love me too?
I'm very excited about it. It reminds me of a Shakespearean quote from Taming of the Shrew, Petruchio. Goes, "Such wind as scatters young men through the world to seek their fortunes further than at home where small experience grows."
Ryan is definitely a character actor. He would never play a leading man role for me at the get-go.
I have thrust myself into this maze happily to wive and thrive as best I may.
He has an almost hawk-like long nose here.
Crowns in my purse I have and goods at home.
Very tight little thin lips.
And so am come abroad to see the world.
Very squinty eyes.
I'm very excited. I hope that she will call me in for an interview.
His face is so ill-proportioned.
And cast me in a major motion picture. That's my ultimate goal.
His face is a very closed face to me.
Do you love me too?
What impression do you think your features give?
Well, my nose is the first one through the door. So that's an interesting impression, I suppose.
You have a very, very prominent nose.
Yeah,
it's a hawk-like nose. There have been other noses like that. It is a very big nose, it's one of those features that stands out immediately, and it's going to it could either limit you in terms of what you play, which it naturally will to a great extent, but it could also because it is so prominent. Actors have had prominent, features that have really made them stand out. So you have crooked teeth.
Crooked teeth, yeah.
I love crooked teeth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They're very good teeth, very crooked.
All right.
Yeah, that works for you.
Okay.
That's going to work for you. You have very big ears.
Yeah.
That you're hiding right now,
That's right.
which is probably a smart thing to do. So I imagine the comedy, the comedic characters, and every once in a while, the nasty sidekick.
Yeah. I feel a little humbled. It was very shocking, and I felt a bit uncomfortable at first because I'd never had anyone done it before, But it was refreshing to have someone so honest and so professional to really confront you with what you need to do to be successful or unsuccessful.
I love you.
I think it's a great opportunity.
Rick's face is more beautifully proportioned.
Anxious, looking forward to it.
It's a stronger, fuller, wider jawline.
I think I can get a lot of direction from her.
This eye looks like it's a little bit smaller.
She'll kind of give me her opinion.
Both of them have quite large foreheads.
Her ideas, a recommendation maybe.
There's an openness about his face.
Do you love me too?
If you were the casting director, how would you cast yourself? What kind of roles?
Probably kind of soap opera type, maybe leading man.
Soap opera leading man?
Sure.
Why do you say that? Be specific about that. In terms of your eyes, your lips, your nose, the
I've been
shape
told
of
that
your
I've had
face.
striking features.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a
You're
compliment.
everything is very well proportioned. You have these beautiful eyebrows here. You have this, you have this strong jawline, and you have looks like, your ears and your cheekbones. Everything seems very well proportioned. Your face is too pretty for me. And I would put you in a soap opera.
You would?
Yes, I would.
So you kind of agree with
Yeah,
that.
I do. I do. And I think that's a good place to start. Look who started in soap operas. Meg Ryan. A lot of people started in soap operas.
did.
But don't come to me until you get a few bruises and until you have a scar on your lip and until, your teeth are a little crooked.
little chip in the
exactly. I want all those things because I really like real faces, and that's what I try to populate my films with, are faces that have blemishes and have a reality to them. It's terrible to look at somebody's face and say, your face doesn't look real.
I felt a connection just talking to her, and I felt a lot of honesty. It's just a vibe. It was a great vibe sitting in there.
I love you.
From my standpoint, it's going to go real well. I'm going to make sure of that.
I don't know whether he has any distinctive features that are going to really mark him as a film lead.
It's very important, being an up-and-coming actor, to meet as many casting directors as you can.
His face is more perfectly proportioned than Ryan's.
The more casting directors you meet, of course, the better.
his eyes are the most liquid of all of these.
This is like a piece of pie, like golden.
He would definitely play the supporting, the best friend of in films.
It can really skyrocket your career almost overnight if they like you.
There's a sweetness and an openness about his face.
Do you love me too?
Talk to me a little bit about what kind of roles you think you'll play.
Leading man, I got a very domineering presence.
And how do you see your face? Talk to me about your face.
My eyes are piercing. My smile is enticing.
You have beautiful teeth.
Yes, I have very beautiful teeth. Never had any cavities.
And you have very full lips.
Yes. Now you're gonna make me blush. I can be just as kind looking and all the way into, God, did I say the Lucifer himself?
I probably would never cast you in a mean-spirited or villainous or bad guy role initially.
Well, that's good.
I would, yeah. I'll be quite blunt with you. I don't know if you're going to play leading man. You may.
Right.
Usually I think of leading man as having something of someone who has something very facially distinctive the minute they walk in that just really holds my attention.
She told me that she didn't really see me in the leading man type, and that deflated me because I always thought me as that. But then I thought about it, you know, most really, really great actors aren't supporting, they help, and I'm good at that. So I'm inflated now about the interview. But yes, initially at first I was a little, I guess, inside myself, a little disappointed to what she said. Not that she said anything wrong, it just was different from the way I viewed myself. But I'm a very optimistic person, and I can work with what I get.
So which face will Marley choose? Would she go for number 1, Ryan, who has a nose for Shakespeare? Or what about number 2, Rick? Would she go all soapy about his pretty boy looks? Or is it number 3, Michael, who thinks he's a bit of a devil, but does he have the face of an angel?
Michael has a face that invites me in immediately. There are his eyes, as he said. I mean, he said I have piercing eyes, and he's absolutely right. And he has a wonderful, warm smile. I would use Michael more than the other two.
Remember one last thing about fame. It's luck. It's luck. Almost every movie star that we could mention got famous because they had a good part in a hit movie that someone else turned down. So they didn't basically, except for a man like Stallone who wrote his own part, or Ben Affleck and Matt Damon who wrote their own parts in Good Will Hunting, stars become stars by accident, and they know that. And that insecurity goes with them forever.
And what's waiting for Michael if his face does become famous?
I mean, when I came here to America 18 years ago and I did Remington Steele, I remember when Remington started coming out on TV, going through the shopping mall with the family, and, you know, somebody would recognize me, and my children would say, "Dad, someone recognizes you." And I say, "Where?" I said, "Oh, yeah, I see it. It's good."
It makes you swell, doesn't it?
Makes you feel good, you know.
I think the biggest emotional effect was when my Estée Lauder campaign started kicking in. And I was in South Africa making a movie, and I went into the mall, and suddenly there were enormous posters of myself selling the perfume Pleasures, mascaras and stuff, and they were massive. And I was completely freaked out. It was so weird that I felt embarrassed to be standing there looking at myself in case someone saw me. And to this day, I still feel, you know, in the front of the magazines where all the ads run. And so if I'm sitting on an aeroplane, of course, I want to look at the ads. Number one, I love other people's ads. And number two, I want to have a look at my own. But I could never dare open the beginning of the magazine in case an air hostess walks past, just when I'm looking at myself.
I found the greatest single advantage of it is that it gets me to meet people I wouldn't otherwise meet.
Oh, that's sure. Oh, you can think of lots of advantages. I mean, like money.
Oh, yes.
Because I think it's part of a business deal. You know, I think it's very similar to, you know, if I give you, you know, a book from my bookshelf, it doesn't mean you can come and take as many books as you want any time. And then if I go to a premiere to publicise my film, you'll take some photographs, sell them and make some money. My film will be publicised. And that seems like a fair deal to me. I don't see why that suddenly means you can put a lens through my bathroom window.
I think once people identify certain characteristics in you, and fame sort of inflates all that. You know, you have to be famous for something. I'm famous possibly for being nice, for being agreeable, for being genial. So a lot of people project onto me, oh, he'd be very sympathetic about this, that, and the other. They see a kind of completely simplified version of what you really are.
The trouble with fame is that you can't ever switch it off. That's why I like spending time in Santa Barbara, a small town in California well clear of Los Angeles. I like the relative anonymity I have here. I can walk down the street, nobody takes any notice. Back in London, well, I do enjoy being recognized by the people who live in my local community, like the Greek Cypriot fellows who run the local greengrocers.
What are these Turkish cherries there? What? Turkish stuff you got here? Does your mother know?
My mummy.
No. It's a flash of alarm there. And seriously, what do you think of the black cherries?
They're nice. The black cherries are nice, yeah.
Okay, give me about half a pound.
Give me about half a pound?
Sure, about half a pound.
All right. Hold on, you haven't paid for those. Unfortunately, we know where you live, mate, so you can't get away.
Well, if you're as slow as that, you don't deserve to be paid.
Oh.
Right, out we go.
Do you want a bag?
No, the hands are working just great. You see, that's the kind of recognition I like, and I think everyone does, because it makes you feel part of the community. You know, to those guys, I'm just the man who's lived around the corner for years and who apparently is sometimes on the television, which is great, because it feels natural. And they know me a bit, so it's real. Whereas this business of getting recognized from the television.
Oi, Basil!
To be totally honest, I'd never been 100% comfortable with it because it feels, well, a bit artificial. I mean, they don't know who I actually am.
You shot him!
Only a bit. Is it surprising that in this frenetic, crowded, rather manic world we all live in, we can still recognize a famous face so quickly?
If you lived in a village of 300 people, you knew who the squire was and the doctor was and all that. And so everybody had a role, and everybody recognized who they were, even if you were the ploughman's boy. You know, people knew who you were and what you did and why you were there. When you live in this enormous anonymous aggregation of, I don't know how many million people there are in Greater London, but it's a heck of a lot, and nobody, you don't know when you get on the tube, unless you've been travelling on it with 3 other people for the past 15 years, you don't know who you're sitting next to. You don't know what they do. They are anonymous. So by and large, you avert your eyes. You don't want to recognise them. And so you listen to your Walkman. You do actually need to have somebody who you recognise, it's as well as your friends. And so a famous person is useful to you because you orientate yourself towards him and see yourself within the social structure with him up there.
Here's my take on it. I think most of us today aren't quite sure what our life means or what the purpose of it is. And then we see someone over there and everyone's looking at them. And we think to ourselves, they must know something that I don't. But unfortunately, they don't. Whereas back when Florence Nightingale, Duke of Wellington, Abraham Lincoln were famous, well, they had something to say. They were seriously interesting, which is perhaps why we now put them on our banknotes. But I can't help wondering, who are we going to be putting on our banknotes in 100 years' time? How about Posh and Becks on a $5? Or maybe George Clooney on a $1 bill?
We still have the same notions of fame in a modern society as we did in ancestral hunter-gatherer societies, but the whole thing has been hugely amplified and detached from the reality of our own everyday lives. What seems to be happening is that our brains are wired up so that fame is assumed to be a result of high achievement. In the modern world, that's not the case, but our brains are still operating on the basis of a world where fame was something you earned.
So all the trivia on these racks, all this obsession with airbrushed show business pond life, is a clear example of evolutionary wiring gone wrong. Because all these very famous people don't have a single idea between them that will help your lives. So my advice is, ignore them. Don't listen to a single word they say. Ryan Martin is still playing his guitar in Santa Monica and frothing up cappuccinos in Starbucks to make ends meet. He's just missed out on a part in a chocolate commercial. Rick Edwards has signed up with a modelling agency, but he continues to represent Scotland's main interest on the west coast of America. Michael Ricks hasn't heard from Marley Finn yet and is trying to find a new agent.
Action! No, 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 no!